1-1. 11 wins to go, and the Philadelphia Phillies are the world champions of baseball, as the great Harry Callis would say. Welcome in, everybody. Happy Friday Eve. It is Thursday. We are hanging out with you. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. That's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. Gunner, beautiful night last night in South Philadelphia. But before we get to that, I know you got a little info from an Eagles standpoint.
Yeah, developing story, Rob. We learned that Fletcher Cox had an epidural for a back issue. He's had this back issue for years. And come to find out that Fletcher Cox will not be available to play this Sunday against the Rams. Now, the hope is that he'll be well enough to play next week. That's the positive anticipation, but it's not guaranteed that he'll be ready to go next week. Mm-hmm. And again, this is a back issue he's had off and on for years now. It's part of the wear and tear of him being in the NFL for as long as he has. And, you know, these little aches and pains creep up even more so. But he was having an outstanding year up to this point. And we're assuming he will continue to have an outstanding year. But sometimes these back issues flare up. And unfortunately, it's flared up this week. So that means he will not be able to play against the Rams this week. Hopefully, he will be back next week to get back in the trenches on defense.
Okay, that's a big blow. So Derek Gunn reporting that Fletcher Cox will not be playing against the Rams. Had the epidural, try to relieve some of that pain, but by Sunday will not be good enough to go. You're right. He's having an excellent season for them. The defensive tackle spot is, you could argue, is the most strength that they have at any position group for sure, between the way Carter, Davis, he, and Milton Williams are playing. So that's a real thing. That's good information, Derek. Appreciate that, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
now, I got a bone to pick with you and Tone. See, you know, people don't know this, but every morning on our meetings, you know, we go over what we want to talk about and, you know, share ideas. And, you know, I try to close the meetings with, hey, man, you know, I really appreciate you guys. And you guys are like family to me. And this morning, you both simultaneously snickered. You just snickered. And I'm sitting there thinking, you know what? I don't like you and I don't like you. So therefore, moving forward, I will not extend any more positivity in our show meetings.
So here's what happens. When you start with one of those things, I'm waiting for the zing to come. I'm waiting for the
no zing.
Okay. There usually is a zing. There wasn't a zing today. You were being sincere. Okay. But I'm usually like, my guard's up, like, which way is it coming from? I don't know where. So I have to look over my shoulder. Where? And then, all right, come here, give me a hug.
You know what, Rob, that hurts. It hurts the left side. It pumps blood. You know, I just want you to know that.
Yes, that hurts. You'll be okay. I think somehow you'll muddle through. But no, believe me, I think you know this. The feeling is mutual, my friend. So good hanging out with you.
I don't know anything after this morning. I'm just telling you right now.
Okay. No, but man, what a night. I see everybody in the chat excited. I see all you guys. I see Philippe. I see Fitness Rebel. I see Tina. I see Jeremy. I see Christy. I see Father Sean. I see M. Reyes, Spanish Philly. Whoever I didn't miss. Nafiz.
Scott.
Yeah, I see you guys. I see every single one of you guys, and I feel the same way, man. That was absolutely awesome last night. I had a good feeling about Nola, and you know, he went out there and he pitched his heart out last night. Very cool too. That his wife announced that they're expecting too.
Yes.
Congrats to them. That's very cool. But you know, look, the way that he went out and the way that Wheeler went out, I mean, I don't care who you're playing. When you get pitching like that, you're either going to win or you're going to be in every single game. And they were absolutely awesome.
You know, I'm sitting there watching it and I'm going, the way he's pitching tonight, all is forgiven in terms of the frustration he generated with the fan base this summer. Yeah. Because that was vintage playoff Nola last night, man. His sneaky fastball was on point, corner to corner. His breaking pitches are dropping off the table. And that's what we expected to see from Nola much of this season. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. But when they needed him the most, man, especially following up what Wheeler did in game one, man, you know me, I tell you all the time, I'd rather see good pitching duel than a slugfest.
Yep.
And this next series, I think we're going to see a slugfest because you got two heavyweights going at it between the Phillies and the Braves. You know, you got the Phillies who had the most home runs in the majors since August, and you've got the Braves who have the most home runs in the entire majors for the season. So you got big boppers up and down the lineup coming up. This is going to be like softball games, man. I'm telling you, it's coming.
This is going to be wild. I mean, this is going to be absolutely wild. And again, we got the game times now, Derek. We know at least games 1 and 2. Game 1 Saturday night will be 6:07. Game 2 is Monday. Weird. Usually you go, 2 games right away, but there's an off day between game 1 and game 2. So game 1 Saturday 6:07. Game 2 also 6:07, but on Monday, and these games will both be in Atlanta. Then you come back here, Derek, for Tuesday and Wednesday at Philadelphia. So we don't have the time for those games yet, but it's going to be unbelievable, man. It really is. And by the way, Fitness Rebel, I agree. Let me just say, I agree. She's dead on.
Geez. There she goes kissing up the Rob.
Love my Fitness Rebel. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, but no, I mean, I think that the big thing is what you're seeing, Derek, is like this team has they know what it's like to play in the postseason. Last year was so big for them that, I mean, they destroyed the Marlins. It really wasn't even as close as some of these scores look. They just took it to them. And, big plays along the way, the pickoff where Birdie in the 3rd inning, that's still a 0-0 game when Nola gets him there. And then timely double plays, it was all there.
Yes, everything that you need. And then, of course, when Stott jacks the grand slam, that's the exclamation point on the night. You can't say, I mean, they held the Marlins to 2 runs for 2 games, and that's doing something because this Marlins team, a bunch of free swingers, big swingers, and they can score. But the Phillies, between Wheeler and Nola and the bullpen all coming together at the same time, man, you couldn't have picked a better time to hit your stride. And of course, Trey Turner's like just soaking all this up. So he hasn't experienced it like this.
Yep.
He was with he was with the Dodgers.
He won it with the Nats. He was with the Dodgers, but he hasn't had this kind of home field advantage anywhere.
This crowd at Citizens Bank Park is like going to a college football game to see Ohio State versus Michigan, man.
That's a good point.
These people are rabid, nonstop, standing up. My wife asked me at one point last night during the Phillies game, why are people standing up in the front row? I mean, people are just jacked up.
The whole game.
The whole game, people are standing.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I'm paying good money and I want to sit down, I'm like, will you people please sit down so we can watch the game? You know what? If you go to a Phillies game, just be prepared to stand up for the majority of a 9-inning game because people are at a fever pitch. They understand this team is much better lineup wise with the likes of Trey Turner in it.
Yeah.
And you look at they've started hitting their stride in August in terms of the long ball. Dude, this. I'm not surprised they beat the Marlins. I was worried about the Marlins, but now I can't wait to see this heavyweight battle get underway because, from Atlanta side, they're thinking, hey, the Phillies ended our season last year.
Yep.
From the Philly side, hey, we got 2 wins away from winning it all last year. We're on a mission. So you got 2 heavyweights on a collision course right now. Man, it's going to be knockdown, drag out. And right now, the Braves pitching staff is hurting a little bit.
They are banged up. I mean, there's no question about that. Yeah, I mean, and I think about it too, Derek. They did this without Bryce Harper really going off. He didn't do much. It was a lot of other guys picking it up. Obviously, Stott with the slam. Real Muto's been excellent through the first 2 games. Bohm with some clutch hits like he always delivers. Obviously, there's a lot of other guys. Pache, Rojas had a couple of big hits for them. But yeah, it's been across the board. Castellanos, a couple doubles in game 1. It's been across the board, really everybody contributing here. You're not just leaning on one person. I mean, and they faced 2 good starting pitchers the last 2 nights. And
absolutely.
And neither guy got deep into the game for Florida, for the Marlins, and both the Phillies guys were outstanding. Where, I mean, let's face it, Derek, you really beyond, I know it was 0-0 into the 3rd, but the way Nola was pitching, this was neither game was stressful. Really, neither game was stressful.
No, and you said last night you had a sneaky feeling we were going to see vintage Nola last night, and sure enough, it's exactly what we got, man. What did he finish with? 5 strikeouts, I believe it was.
He didn't strike out a ton. No, actually, it was a low strikeout total for him, which is rare. He's usually a big strikeout guy. He didn't have a lot of strikeouts in the game. I think he had 3, something like that, but. Look, he was in total command. He could have gone longer. I mean, you could have thrown him out there in the 8th. There's no question about it. But, the good thing is he didn't really have to overdo it. I think he threw like 88 pitches or whatever it ended up being. So you're going to have for game 2, Wheeler, 3, Nola. Is the way. The question is, and Rob Thompson hasn't announced it yet, who's going to pitch game 1 in Atlanta on Saturday. If you're asking me my guess is he goes with Suarez. He takes the experience over Sanchez, who pitched great this year for them, but he doesn't have the same level of experience. I think it'll be Suarez.
I'm tending to agree with you. Suarez is well rested.
Yep.
He should be good to go, and he will be in his home park, so he will be feeding off of that,
his
as well.
Park. Well, I think that the good thing about Ranger Suarez, I think he's a big moment guy, and I also he is also someone who doesn't get caught up in hype. He's always the same. He's a non-pulse kind of guy. It's great.
Yeah, he'd be a consummate poker player. You don't know what he's thinking. He would never tip his hand. Facial expressions, you would never know whether he has a good hand or a bad hand. And whether he's home or away, crowd noise, pro or con, doesn't affect him. Now we just have to make sure he's the Suarez we want.
Yeah, make sure he's dialed in. No, that's the biggest thing. But yeah, they look like a team that was sort of not. I would say they weren't pacing. The Phillies weren't pacing themselves during the regular season, but they looked like a team. Once it got real, they had the ability to go to that gear. There's an extra gear that some teams have that ability to go to, and they absolutely, clicked in the last 2 games and just really took that team apart. Yeah, the beauty is you don't have to play tonight. It's not tooth and nail. You didn't crush your bullpen, having to use guys. You went, used a few guys on in game 1, but last night it was just basically like they used the kid Orion Kettering, right? He came in and pitched great.
Yeah.
Soto ended the game. He pitched the last inning, but it really wasn't a situation where like Alvarado or Kimbrel or any of your big guns, Sir Anthony, got overdone. They're all going to be really well rested going into this game, as is the team.
No
You're
question.
Going to have off Thursday, Friday,
and
then
Saturday.
You don't play till Saturday. 2 days off.
See, Chuck Hutton says maybe Acuna will cramp up from inactivity. Wishful thinking. I don't think that's going to happen. The season Ronald Acuna has had this year, that's wishful thinking, but I don't see that happening the way that dude's playing right now.
The only thing you ever, if you're an Atlanta fan, the only thing you ever worry about him is, where's his head at sometimes.
True.
Like an example was last year with Real Muto's inside the park home run. It kicks off that wall and Karam's into right. He didn't even move. Dude, you got to be backing that up. So that's the only issue with Acuna is he just falls asleep sometimes, or will be a little bit of a showman sometimes, which gets himself in trouble. That's all.
Yeah, but Rob, that dude created his own club this year, 40-70 club. That's unheard of. 40 home runs, 70 stolen bases.
I would say from a talent standpoint, Derek, maybe Ohtani. He's right there with Ohtani in terms of talent, like just baseball talent. Ronald Acuna Jr.
I agree. And it would be debatable. I think it's a flavor of the day. Who do you like more and why?
Yeah.
With those two. I love watching both of those guys play. Acuna, I know he's playing for I have to say this because I just love watching great athletes. I know he's playing for the enemy, but I'm going to look forward to watching him play, especially at the plate. I love his bat presence. I love how he's a competitor. He works a pitcher, and when he gets on bases, he makes a pitcher think more about than just focusing on delivering a strike to the plate. You always have to be aware of where he is, and he doesn't care what base it is. He's going to steal a base,
Yeah.
And with the way, you on one hand, you have a Schwarber who's hitting 46 home runs. You got this dude leading off of them who's got a 40-70 club all his own.
Whoa.
The matchups up and down the lineup. I mean, these are two teams that there are no weak links from 1 through 9. We always talk about how the Phillies have no weak link 1 through 9. Atlanta has no weak link 1 through 9 in their batting arsenal.
Look, I mean, this is a team. They won 104 games. They scored the most runs in baseball. They tied the Major League Baseball record with 307 home runs. I mean, this is a nasty, nasty team. And the Phillies last year hit Spencer Strider in the playoffs. But if you look at Spencer Strider's numbers against them in the regular season, it is about as dominant as you can be against the major league team. It's that good. So that's going to be the big question is, is it going to look any different than the regular season when you face him in that first one? So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun for sure. All right. So we told you about Fletcher Cox. Derek had the breaking news if you're just tuning in. that what he's hearing is Fletcher Cox will not be able to play against the Rams because of the back issues that he's suffering from. He had an epidural to try to relieve some of that. But they play the Rams this week. So we got a lot in store for you today. We have Mike Sealski coming up at 12 o'clock. We'll talk Phillies, Eagles, mixing some Harden as well because he did practice yesterday, Derek. We'll talk to Mike at 12. At 1 o'clock, we'll talk to Tim Parker. Derek and I used to work with Tim back in the day at NBC Sports Philadelphia, and Tim's gone out to L.A., and he back in the day, he was a producer. Now he's in front of the camera as a reporter for Spectrum News and Southern California and Spectrum Sportsnet Southern California. So we'll get the latest from Tim on what's going on with the Rams. They're taking it real cautiously with Stafford and the hip, Gunner. So they're being careful with him. And we'll get all the lowdown on what's going on with them out there. So I'm looking forward to talking to Tim. That's going to be fun.
Well, when you come to Matthew Stafford and you're talking about a hip, they're going to be extremely cautious with him because, he's going to get the cold, hot treatments on that hip. He's going to get the electrolysis treatment, try to stimulate the tissue stuff in there and to loosen that thing up. And, he's going to take a lot of hits on it in the game, especially because Stafford's one of these quarterbacks. He loves the play action rollout pass. He loves the throw and the run. So they're going to do everything they can to make sure. And let's face it, the Rams have surprised people in a lot of ways up to this point in the season. They're 2-2 right now, and they've got a couple of young receivers that are really catching people's eyes. And on top of that, we might see the 2023 debut of Cooper Kupp. I'm hoping he's still a week away from being, but it looks like he could be playing this Sunday, which a suspect Eagles pass secondary does not need to see this week.
No, I mean, when you consider what their other guys have done with him not there, woof. I mean, what Puka's done, what Tutu Atwell's done, you throw him in there with Higbee. I know like the Eagles have faced some pretty good receivers so far, Mike Evans and Terry McLaurin last week, but this combo is nasty that they're getting.
Yeah, and they're 22 and they're 23 years old, these young kids.
Yeah.
Nakoa and Tutu Atwell, 22, 23. They're still learning their way through the game. And Nakoa is one of the top receivers in the league this year.
Yeah. Well, right now he's on pace. He's gotten to these receptions and yards faster through 4 games than anybody ever has in the NFL. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. So
I never heard him when he came out of BYU. I didn't know who he was until a couple of weeks ago. We started looking at his numbers.
Derek, when I looked at them before the season, that Rams team, and especially knowing that Cooper Kupp wasn't going to be able to start the year, I thought they were going to be terrible. I give McVay credit. I give their front office credit for finding these guys and the way that they've developed them. The Ram. This will be a challenge of a game for the Eagles. I'm telling you. I really hope Birds fans don't think this is a rollover. I get it. A lot of them are headed out to LA. It's going to be a party out there. Believe me, it's going to be awesome. Yep. But this game on the field, I think, is going to be tough. I think it's going to be a tough game.
I do too. And the Rams, they haven't won a home game this year. So that's huge for them. They've won 2 in a row, haven't won at home this year. So it's huge. And again, the Rams know who's coming to town. This is like their Super Bowl. Week 5 is like their Super Bowl, as is the case with everybody who plays the Eagles, who were the runners up in the Super Bowl. So they're going to be jacked up in front of their home crowd, which is going to have a large Eagles contingent. But they're going to be ready to play against this Super Bowl team who everybody picks once again to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. And as we've seen through 3 of the Eagles' first 4 games, counting out the Tampa game, everybody has made the Eagles sweat right down to the very end. And you think in 2 of the Eagles games, previous games, it came down to a catch on the sideline, which stopped an opponent's drive, potential game-winning drive. 2 games, sideline catches were the difference between the team continuing a drive and stopping the drive in a 4th down situation.
Yep, absolutely. It's going to be a good one. It is going to be a good one. Now, I touched on it elsewhere. James Harden did practice yesterday with the Sixers, Derek. There were no incidents, anything. Everybody said the right things. Harden didn't talk, but the Nick Nurse said all the right. He was full participant. You're doing whatever needed to be done. Blah blah blah. So, I will tell you this. That's fine. That's all well and good. Something's coming. Something's coming. I don't know what. I don't know. Something's coming. Just mark my words.
From all the video clips you saw on Twitter /X, He's running the floor.
Yep.
He looks like he's in shape.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good first day because the Sixers brass is holding their breath, waiting for something. And day one turned out to be a smooth transition. Nick Nurse said all the right things. He looked good. He engaged. That's all you can ask for at this point. But you're right. I think he's there with another promise. Something is going to happen.
Right.
That's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You're right. If you're, they'll never say this, but Daryl Morey and those guys are like, all right, we got through today. What does tomorrow bring? It's one of those deals. So again, we'll talk to Mike Sealski about all those kind of things in a little bit. The other crazy thing, just back to baseball for a minute. Every wild card series was a sweep.
Yes, isn't that weird?
It's crazy.
Isn't that something?
A bunch of teams rode. I mean, the
Arizona
Diamondbacks,
yep.
Road team who took care of their business and played really well. The Rangers in Tampa. So that's pretty crazy.
I'm surprised Minnesota bumped Toronto in 2 straight. I thought that would go to a full 3 games.
Well, you saw what happened in that game. They lifted their starting pitcher who was dealing after only 47 pitches.
Yes.
Like, what are we doing here?
But I wonder why did they lift him?
It was an awful decision. And John Schneider I like John Schneider as a manager, and he said, it's fair to second guess me for the early hook. It was just dumb. So we threw 3 shutout innings, Derek, 47 pitches, and they lifted him. He was pulled. Yeah. And then they took advantage of it.
There's no news out there, arm strain, anything like that. You just lifted the dude. The dude was dealing. You're in a desperate situation. If you don't win the game, you're done.
Nope.
And the guy was dealing. He was in his own. You took him out. Could you imagine if Rob Thompson had done that with Nola last night?
He would be. It would be insanity. It would be insanity.
They would crush him today. He'd be crushed today.
Yeah, 47 pitches, 3 hits allowed, no runs, total control.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and Berrios, he said afterwards, I just control what I control. I pitched my ass off.
What else can he say?
No, I'm saying whatever. I mean, he's in a no win. He can't say anything, but it's what's emblematic of baseball where it's not enough gut. It's not enough eyeballs. And it's too many, printouts in analytics. It's just ridiculous. It really is. All right, let's do this, Derek. Let's come back. Let's dig in a little bit heavier here on the Birds and the absence of Fletcher Cox and how this may play out. Because guess what? It's not just Fletcher Cox. I'll give you the injury report from yesterday. It's it's a little concerning because there are some key players here who may not be able to go. Again, we don't know anything official yet. We'll have a better handle on when the injury report comes out today, but we'll get into that. We'll get into the Rams, what they present, where they rank, all those good things when we come back. So don't go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown because it's the perfect time right now. 11:30, right? Get a little hungry. You just head over to Bravo Pizza of Havertown. I've been going there since I was a kid. They've been family owned since 1985. You got Alex and his great crew. They're there 7 days a week, just cracking out the best food there is. I can promise you that. They have 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. They have the you name it, they will make it. Specialized pizza your way. I like the grandma. I like the upside down. They don't just do pizza. They do fresh pasta. They do sandwiches. They do wraps. They do wings. They do salads. And they're also committed to the community. This is one of the great things about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. They have fundraisers for charities, for schools, for little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You could follow them at the Bravo of on Instagram and Facebook for daily specials and promotions. They are located at 1305 Westchester Pike in the Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown, Pennsylvania. 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center, Havertown. Give them a call right now. 610-446-3810. That's 610-446-3810. Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Take a look.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We're big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and It was just a memory that you'll never forget.